It's kind of crazy that the 2019 NBA draft is going to be 6 years old this June. I remember how hyped up this lottery was when you got the #1 overall pick and you got one of the most hyped up college prospects in recent memory in Zion Williamson. And I've regraded every single draft leading up to the 2019 draft so far, so that's what we are going to be doing for today's video. It's really interesting to see how some of these careers have gone so far since we are in year 6 of some of these players' careers. Some of these guys are out of the league completely. Some of them have been on 4 different teams already. So we're going to start things off with the #1 overall pick, Zion Williamson. I'm going to give this grade a B+. Obviously, Zion Williamson is an A+ caliber player when he is healthy. He's a 2-time All-Star. When he's out there playing, actually, he looks like one of the more dominant offensive players in the league. Something that reminds me a little bit of how Shaq was in the 2000s, because he's an unstoppable force inside the paint because of how strong and physical he can be, but it's just the injuries that is holding him back from an A or an A+ grade. He only played 24 games as a rookie. He was healthy in year number 2, was an All-Star in 2021, but did not play a single game in 2022. Only 29 games in 2023. He was fully healthy in 2024, but then just 30 games again this season. So unless Zion can be consistently healthy, I can't put this in the A grade tier. Next up, we have Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies here at number 2 out of Murray State. He was a sophomore coming into the NBA. I'm giving this an A+. If you remember, at this time, the Memphis Grizzlies had a top 8 protected pick, and if it was outside the top 8, it was going to go to Boston, and then they got insanely lucky on the night of the lottery, like New Orleans, and they ended up with Ja Morant, who is honestly closer to Zion Williamson in terms of games played than you may think. Zion in 5 years has played 214 games, while Ja in 6 years has played 300 games. Ja has missed a ton of time as well, has never played over 70 games, played 9 games in 2024, and was banged up in 2025 consistently, but he has a Most Improved Player award. He's got an All-NBA second team honors under his belt because of how good he was in 2022, where he turned into one of the best guards in the NBA, averaging 27 points and 7 assists. He was elite yet again in 2023, but injuries and some off-the-court stuff has not allowed him to be that similar self he was in those 2 years, but I do think he's still an A+ pick here because he's still the franchise player in Memphis. But it is kind of wild to see how much the Grizzlies' future has changed since that 2022 and 2023 season. Some people thought they could be what the OKC Thunder are today. And my favorite team, the New York Knicks, at this time was trying to tank for Zion Williamson. They fell from 1 to 3 in the draft lottery, and they took Zion's teammate at Duke, RJ Barrett, with the 3rd overall pick. I'm actually going to give this a B+. And yeah, I'd rather have Zion long-term than RJ Barrett, no doubt about that, but at least RJ Barrett has been available. He's almost played 200 more games than Zion Williamson since being drafted. He has the most points out of anybody in this draft class, and he's been pretty consistent since the 2023 season. There were some issues with RJ Barrett's tunnel vision and his 3-point shot coming out of school. He shot 40% from 3 in year number 2 when the Knicks made the playoffs in 2021. Took a little bit of a step back in 2022 and in 2023, but has been a good Toronto Raptor so far, and definitely had the best year of his career in 2025. 58 games, 47% from the field, 35% from 3, and an average 21 points per game and 5.5 assists, a career high. And he's still just 24 years old, and I do wonder how RJ Barrett is going to fit in this Toronto Raptors outlook long term. Is he going to be somebody that is going to be a top option on their team, or is that going to be more so Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes? And what happens if they win the 2025 draft lottery? Does RJ Barrett become expendable? Back at the lottery, the LA Lakers got lucky, and they moved up to the number 4 overall pick. We know they used that pick in the Anthony Davis trade, and then the Pelicans flipped that to Atlanta, who selected DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia after just winning a national title with the 4th pick. DeAndre Hunter was a good player when he was available in Atlanta. He was just a consistent scorer in the mid-teens, a good defender, and an overall good shooter. He got extended at the end of the 2023 season and was banged up yet again in 2024. He was somebody that's also dealt with injury concerns for the most part of his career, but then he got traded to the Cavs at the deadline, and that fit has been amazing so far and could be a big reason why the Cavs could make a run in the 2025 playoffs. In 27 games for the Cavs, 48% from the field, 42% from 3. I'm going to give this grade overall a B because I do think RJ Barrett is a better individual player, but I do think Hunter would fit better on more teams in the league. I just trust RJ Barrett's availability a little bit more. Also has played 100 more career games than DeAndre Hunter. I'm also going to give this a B+. I thought about this or a B just because of DeAndre Hunter's past injury concerns, but he does look fully healthy right now. He's still a very good player in this league and one of the more underrated players in my opinion. Here's also one of the best picks in the 2019 draft, Darius Garland out of Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, number 5 overall to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It is funny that the 4th and 5th overall pick from this draft are now playing together. This is an A+. Darius Garland had some concerns coming out of Vanderbilt, some injury concerns, as well as his small stature, and how would he be able to finish at the rim against bigger players at the NBA level. It is something he did struggle with early in his career, but he really broke out in that 2022 season where he averaged 21.7 points, which is still a career high today. He was an all-star that year, but ever since then, he's been an elite three-point shooter. He doesn't turn the ball over a ton for somebody that handles it as much as he does, and he's somebody that's an elite free throw shooter. He can average around 7 to 8 assists a night as well, and he has turned into one of the best point guards in the NBA, and he's a vital part of why the Cavs just won 60-plus games this year. He got that rookie max extension from the Cleveland Cavaliers, and honestly, when you look back at this draft, this is one of the best picks overall in this class. And yeah, we're going to go from one of the best picks in this class to one of the worst picks in this class. The Minnesota Timberwolves traded up from pick 11 to pick 6. At the time, a lot of people were questioning why Phoenix would trade down here, and they could have just taken the guy that Minnesota took here at 6, Jarrett Culver out of Texas Tech. He was on that Texas Tech team that lost to Virginia in the national championship, and this is our first F. Jarrett Culver is a good old-fashioned bust in the NBA. He played 63 games as a rookie in the 2020 season. He averaged 9 points, 3.5 rebounds, and shot under 30% from 3, and shot 40% from the field, and then 46% from the free throw line, and he never played that many games again, nor that many amount of minutes, as his playing time decreased over time, only appearing in 34 games as a sophomore at around 15 minutes a night. And then at the end of that 2021 season, he ended up getting traded with Juan Hernangomez to the Memphis Grizzlies for Patrick Beverley. His 4th-year option wasn't picked up by Memphis. He then signed a 2-way with Atlanta in 2022, was waived a few months later, and is currently not on an NBA team at the moment. Yeah, for somebody that was the 6th overall pick, that could have been a good 3-and-D wing at the NBA level, just really didn't work out. And yeah, it is our first F, like I said. I mean, here at number 7, the Chicago Bulls took a guard out of UNC, Coby White. And if I graded this pick through the first couple of years, it might be a C+, B-, or B. Now I'm giving this an A-. Coby White has been fantastic for the Bulls over the last 2 seasons. In his first 4 years in the league, Coby White averaged around 12 points per game and shot 41% from the field. And he averaged career lows across the board in that 2023 season, right before entering restricted free agency. But the Bulls gave him a 3-year extension around $30 million. And in hindsight, that is a phenomenal deal that they handed out, because Coby White finished top 3 in most improved voting in that 2024 season. 19 points, 5 assists, 4.5 rebounds, and shot 38% from 3, and has carried that momentum here into year number 6, where he's averaging career high in points and free throw percentage. And he's also still an elite 3-point shooter as well. He's going to be a very hot name on the trade market this offseason. I'm giving this an A-. Honestly, maybe if those first 4 years were a little bit better, this could have been an A, but Coby White over the last 2 years has probably been an A caliber player from this class, because a lot of players from this class have not aged the best, but Coby White is not one of them. At number 8, this is one of the picks the Pelicans got for the 4th overall pick from the Hawks, and they took Jaxson Hayes, a center out of Texas. We've seen Texas centers work out in the past, like Miles Turner and Jarrett Allen, and we've seen some like Mo Bamba and now Jaxson Hayes that really haven't worked out. I'm going to give this a D+. At least Jaxson Hayes in the year 2025 is a fine rotational big. He's actually provided the Lakers good reps this season. He's more so a backup center, and he's relied on a ton in LA just because they don't have any center depth in general, but he didn't really have many good years in New Orleans. He did have a productive 2022 season, but then had some off the court issues as well. And honestly, for somebody drafted 8th overall, it could have been worse, yes, technically, but it really could have been a lot better. Like the 4th and 5th overall picks in Hunter and Garland, they're currently on the modern day Cavs. And then the 8th and 9th overall picks are currently on the LA Lakers. Number 9 here, you have Rui Hachimura out of Gonzaga. I'm actually going to give this one a B+, because I do think RJ Barrett and DeAndre Hunter are better players than Rui Hachimura, but getting somebody of this caliber with the 9th overall pick has aged fairly well for the Washington Wizards, and more so the LA Lakers, as there was just a lot of forwards and a lot of star level talent in Washington, like Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal in the early part of Rui Hachimura's career, where he really just couldn't get that many shots. He averaged around 13 points a night for the first 4 years of his career, and then was traded to the LA Lakers for some second round picks at the 2023 deadline, and the Lakers got a steal in terms of value there, because since getting traded to the Lakers, Rui Hachimura has averaged around 13 points, 4.5 rebounds, has shot 52% from the field, 42% from 3, and 75% from the free throw line, and has held his own defensively as well. So for somebody with the 9th overall pick giving you good rotational minutes, I'm going to give that a B+. Atlanta's second pick here in the top 10 was Cam Reddish out of Duke, the 3rd Duke player drafted in the top 10, joining Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett. Hard to believe that that team didn't win a national title in 2019. Shout out to Michigan State. But I'm also going to give this pick a D. Yeah, it hasn't really worked out. Cam Reddish was also on the LA Lakers at one point this year, so they had picks 8, 9, and 10 from this draft class. And it really never gelled well together for Cam Reddish, as he really didn't become a good three-point shooter at any point in his career, maybe outside of that 2022 season. And a lot of people thought he was the best player coming into that high school class going into the 2019 college season, but he could just not operate as a number one scoring option at any point post high school. And Reddish tried to transition himself into more so being a defensive first caliber player, which is what you should do when you're no longer that top guy. And he had his moments for the LA Lakers, but he was waived by them back in March, and he's currently not on a team right now. So I'm going to give it a D. Shout out to the Phoenix Suns, man, because at the time, they were not a well-ran organization. They ended up trading down from 6 to 11 here, and they got a lot of flack for that. They also traded TJ Warren for basically a few seconds around this time as well, but they took Cam Johnson out of UNC, and this is an A pick, as there's a lot worse talent that went ahead of Cam Johnson in this draft. He was an upperclassman coming out of UNC. He was actually a 5-year player before 5-year players were a thing. He spent 3 years at Pitt and then 2 years at UNC, and Johnson has just been an elite shooter since entering the NBA. He's a career 39% from three guy on over 1,000 3-point attempts at the NBA level. That's around 5.9 a night. He was a big part of a major trade when he got sent from Phoenix to Brooklyn at the 2023 deadline. That netted Phoenix Kevin Durant, and he averaged career highs in 2025. 18.5 points. He shot 47% from the field, 39% from three, 89% from the free throw line. A really good player for a non-top 10 pick. It's an A. At number 12, the Charlotte Hornets took PJ Washington, a forward out of Kentucky. I'm going to give this pick a B+. Now, Washington's best part of his NBA career has definitely came in Dallas and not Charlotte, but he did have good productive years in Charlotte. In 2023, he averaged around 16 points and 5 rebounds, but really struggled to be a consistent three-point shooter, and that's really came together in 2025 for the Dallas Mavericks. In 57 games, he's shooting 38% from three on 4 attempts a night, and I thought he turned into one of the better perimeter defenders in the playoffs during the Dallas Mavericks championship run in 2024, and is turning himself into a nice 3-and-D asset right now. It would have been better if he was next to Luka Doncic in Dallas, but that's besides the point. So I do think Charlotte did well with PJ Washington here at number 12. They got a solid return for him at the 2024 trade deadline, and Dallas has definitely gotten the best part of PJ Washington's career so far, so it's getting a B+. But also one of the best picks here in the 2019 draft, Tyler Herro out of Kentucky, who played there with PJ Washington, 13th overall to the Miami Heat. It's an A+. I usually hand out these A+ to players that have made an all-star game in their careers, and Tyler Herro did just that in 2025, posting a career high in points per game at around 24 a night. He averaged 5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and was an elite 3-point shooter yet again for the 4th straight year, 38% from 3 on 8.5 attempts a night. Yeah, Tyler Herro isn't a great defender, and I don't think he could be a number 1 on a title team one day, and when the Miami Heat made it to the finals in 2023, he was injured for all of that. But Herro is an all-star caliber talent. He's got a 6th man of the year in his career, and he's an elite shooter, and the Miami Heat got that with the 13th overall pick. It's an A+ in this regrade, only the 3rd one I've handed out so far. Ja, Garland, and Herro, and like I said, Zion would have been here if he could have stayed healthy a little bit more. And the last pick of the lottery was Romeo Langford, a wing out of Indiana. This pick went to Boston via Sacramento, and I'm going to give this an F. Langford hasn't played in the NBA since the 2023 season. The highlight of his career was probably being the main player going back to San Antonio in the Derek White trade at the 2022 trade deadline. He appeared in 141 games for the Celtics and the Spurs, averaging 4 points, 2 rebounds, shot 43% from the field, and 28% from 3. And Boston did much better with the 14th overall pick in the 2020 draft 1 year later. We're gonna have back-to-back Fs here. This is why the Detroit Pistons were so bad from 2019 to 2024, because coming off their playoff appearance in which they got blown out in round number 1 by the Milwaukee Bucks, they took Sekou Doumbouya, an international player that just appeared in 96 games in the NBA. It's an easy F here. He appeared in 38 games as a rookie. He shot 39% from the field and 28% from 3 for a Pistons team that won 20 games and finished 13th in the Eastern Conference. Then in year number 2 as a 20-year-old, he appeared in 56 games, shot 39% from the field, 22% from 3, and averaged 5 points a night. He actually went back from his really bad numbers from his rookie year. That team won 20 games in 2021. He then appeared in 2 games for the Lakers in 2022 on a 2-way and has not played in the NBA since, so it's another F here in the 2019 regrade. At number 16, this player probably would have had a better career if he didn't get hurt in March Madness in 2019, and that is Chuma Okeke, who got drafted by the Orlando Magic here when we knew he was not going to play a single game in his rookie season. And I'm giving this a D, as Okeke has had some solid moments in his career. He actually was an important piece for that Orlando Magic team in 2021. He had his moments in 2022, but really struggled with his overall efficiency at the NBA level. I actually have liked his defense since being drafted, but has never really had consistent playing time since the first 2 years of his career back in Orlando. He spent a little bit of time with Philadelphia and Cleveland in 2025. I think he's going to be an up and down G League guy for the rest of his career. Still just 26 years old. Here at number 17, the Pelicans selected Nickeil Alexander-Walker out of Virginia Tech. I'm going to give this pick a B+. They got this pick by taking on the last year of Allen Crabbe's bad contract, so Brooklyn could go out and sign Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and DeAndre Jordan. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker didn't have too many good seasons in New Orleans because he was then traded to the Utah Jazz in that 2022 season, but he's really turned around the way he's played in the NBA, because at Virginia Tech, he was a score-first guy. He looked like he could be a good three-point shooter at the NBA level, and that really didn't happen in New Orleans or Utah, and he reinvented himself in Minnesota, turning himself into a very good defender, and his three-point shot has come around as well. Over the last 2 years in Minnesota, he shot around 39% from three on 4.5 attempts a night, and him and Jaden McDaniels are a great defensive duo over there in Minnesota. So yeah, I'm giving this a B+. Definitely the best part of his career has been in Minnesota rather than New Orleans, who draft. And if I made a regrade basically in 2021 or 2022, this pick here at number 18 would have gotten a very low grade, but right now it is a B+, and that is Goga Bitadze, who originally was drafted by the Indiana Pacers. And Bitadze was always going to be a backup there in Indiana because he had guys like Matisse Thybulle and Miles Turner ahead of him, but he's also reinvented himself in Orlando like Nickeil Alexander-Walker has done in Minnesota, because he has been one of the more underrated defensive big men in the NBA since getting picked up by the Orlando Magic in 2023 after getting waived by the Indiana Pacers. This year for the Orlando Magic, he averaged 7 points per game, which was a career high, 6.5 rebounds, 1.5 blocks a night, and started 42 games because of the Mo Wagner injury, and signed a nice 3-year, $27 million contract with the Orlando Magic last offseason, and has turned into a good rotational big man. But then 2 positive grades is followed up by another F here in the 2019 regrade. Luka Samanic, 19th overall to the San Antonio Spurs. A lot of people loved this pick at the time because the San Antonio Spurs drafted somebody overseas, so that automatically makes them the next Manu Ginobili, and no, that was not the case whatsoever. He appeared in 36 games for the Spurs, shot 43% from the field, 29% from three, and averaged 3.8 points. He didn't play in the NBA at all in 2022, and has spent some time in 2023 and 2024 with the Utah Jazz. Did not play a single game in the NBA in 2025, so he's joining Romeo Langford, Sekou Doumbouya, and Jarrett Culver as my 4th F. At number 20, the Philadelphia 76ers selected Matisse Thybulle out of Washington. I'm going to give this a C+. Matisse Thybulle had a really good stretch in Philadelphia before getting traded to the Portland Trail Blazers in 2023. He was one of the best defenders in the NBA in year 2 and year 3, and he even earned all defensive second team honors in those 2 years. So the first 4 years of his career is really holding up this grade because he hasn't really been a productive player since getting traded to the Portland Trail Blazers. He was always too passive with his shot, and he never really put it together as a good three-point shooter, because if he did, he would have been one of the more valuable 3-and-D assets in the league, given how good of a defender he was. He's 28 years old right now. He's making $11 million per year, but if he could have figured out how to shoot, this could have ended up as an A grade. Slightly better than Matisse Thybulle. I think he's been a good big man in the NBA. Brandon Clarke, who was drafted 21st overall by the Memphis Grizzlies. He was a teammate with Rui Hachimura at Gonzaga. I'm going to give this a B. The last 3 years of Clarke's career have really been banged up by injuries. He's also another player that has never played more than 65 games at any point in his career. He averaged over 10 points per night each of the first 5 years in his career. This year, he averaged 8 points for Memphis, 5 rebounds, and shot 62% from the field. He plays physical. He's a bruiser inside, and for the 21st overall pick, this is a solid selection. It's getting a B. And another B here is who Boston took at pick 22 out of Tennessee, Grant Williams. Grant Williams never won a title in Boston, but he was part of some really good teams with the Celtics, and even had a very productive 2023 season where he averaged 8 points and shot 40% from three for a Boston Celtics team that lost in the conference finals to the Miami Heat in 7 games. Then he ended up signing with the Dallas Mavericks in the 2024 offseason, and then was traded to the Charlotte Hornets in the PJ Washington trade, and has been a good veteran for Charlotte. Unfortunately, he did tear his ACL and was out all of the 2025 season, but in a 45 game sample size for the Hornets, he shot 48% from the field, 37% from three, and averaged 12 points a night. And the Hornets could use somebody like him that's played in big moments career, given how young that team is. We had 3 straight good picks. We're going to be following this up with a bad pick. I really thought he was going to pan out, and that was Darius Bazley, who was drafted by the OKC Thunder with the 23rd overall pick. One of the more athletic players in this draft class. Bazley came out of the G League before the G League Ignite was a thing, and he really struggled with his overall efficiency at the NBA level. He spent 3.5 years in OKC before getting traded to the Phoenix Suns in that 2023 season, and has really bounced around a ton since then, spending some time in Philadelphia and Utah, and didn't play a single game here in 2025. So I unfortunately have to give this a D, because he did have his moments. I don't think it's been as bad as an F. At 24 though, one of the best picks in the draft, but if I did a regrade last year, this probably would have gotten like a C, but I'm giving it an A right now. Ty Jerome, the 24th overall pick to the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns could definitely use somebody like Ty Jerome today, but a lot of smart teams have passed up on Ty Jerome since being drafted. Those teams included OKC, Golden State, and Cleveland only played him 2 games in 2024. But this year, Ty Jerome has been one of the best storylines in the NBA. Career highs across the board, 12.5 points, 3.5 assists, 51% from the field, 43% from 3, 87% from the free throw line. He was going to be in consideration for 6th Man of the Year, Most Improved Player award I believe he should win in 2025. He even had 28 points in the Cavs' first playoff game this year. He's one of the best backup players in the NBA, and this grade definitely deserves an A. Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter on that 2019 Virginia team. Pretty electric duo, and that's not even the best player that was there. That was Kyle Guy, who went in the 2nd round in this draft. A player that a lot of people thought were going to go in the top 10, including me at this time, Nassir Little out of UNC, definitely should have stayed another year in college. He declares for the draft. He was the 25th overall pick, still a first rounder by the Portland Trailblazers. He spent 4 years in Portland, but also struggled with his shot. He did have inconsistent playing time, but showed some defensive flashes, and he did improve a ton in 2022 and 2023, but he was in that Jusuf Nurkic, DeAndre Ayton trade. He appeared in 45 games for the Suns in 2024, but has not played in the NBA in 2025. It's a D. We have a Belmont player that was drafted 26th overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers, Dylan Windler, a shooter that just never really worked out in the league. Windler has appeared on 4 teams since being drafted. He didn't play at all in 2020 because of an injury. 3 years in Cleveland, then spent some time on the Knicks, the Lakers, and the Hawks in the 2024 season, and is currently not on a team right now. He's currently in the G League. For somebody that was going to be a 3-point specialist, shot 33% from 3 in year 1 and 30% from 3 in year 2. That's just not going to cut it out. I'm giving this pick an F. We're going to have back-to-back Fs here. Here at number 27, the LA Clippers took Mfiondu Kabengele out of Florida State. And a couple picks later, Nic Claxton out of Georgia went. Would have been a lot better of a player here going to the Clippers, as Kabengele only appeared in 12 games as a rookie, and then was traded by the Clippers to the Cavs in the 2021 season. He didn't play at all in the NBA in 2022, appeared in 4 games for Boston in 2023, and hasn't appeared in an NBA game since. It's another F. But then we're following this up with one of the best picks in this draft, Jordan Poole to the Golden State Warriors at 28 out of Michigan. It's an A. Since Jordan Poole has not made an all-star game, I can't give him that A+, but Jordan Poole has been as good of a late-round find as you can ask for. He was a big part of why the Golden State Warriors won that 2022 NBA title, where he averaged 18.5 points, shot 36% from 3, led the NBA in free throw percentage, and got rewarded with a rookie max extension by Golden State. That really shocked me with that career turnaround, because I didn't love Jordan Poole coming out of Michigan, and he really struggled with his efficiency to start off his career, but broke out in that 2022 season. In my opinion, should have won Most Improved Player over Ja Morant. He did struggle after getting traded to the Washington Wizards in the 2024 season. He did bounce back here in 2025, and I do wonder what type of player Jordan Poole is going to be in another 5 years from now. At 29, another Kentucky player in the first round, joining Tyler Herro and PJ Washington, Keldon Johnson went to the San Antonio Spurs. I'm actually going to give this an A-, as I think Keldon Johnson definitely has his flaws, but for somebody that was drafted with the 29th overall pick and his production at the NBA level, I got to give it something in the A, so I'm going to give it an A-. He averaged 22 points for the Spurs in the 2023 season. He shot 40% from 3 in year 3, but he hasn't come close to that since. He shot 34% from 3 in 2024, just 31% from 3 in 2025, but he was more efficient at the rim. He did get a nice rookie extension where he's making $19 million this year, $17.5 million each of the next 2 seasons, and he was once like the premier young asset on that Spurs team. But as they've added some other young guys over time, like Devin Vassell, Victor Wembanyama, Stephon Castle, he's kind of been pushed down the pecking order. Still a really good talent for the 29th overall pick. And lastly, here at number 30, Kevin Porter Jr. out of USC was selected by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and at one point in time, this looked like one of the best picks here in the first round, because as a 19-year-old for Cleveland, he averaged 10 points per game right out of the gate, but he had some off-the-court issues, he had some arguments with the coaching staff, but then he gets traded to the Houston Rockets for just 1 second-round pick in the 2021 season, and he goes on to be a productive player in Houston, where he averaged 17 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds, and shot 36% from 3. We all know about the other off-court issues that ended up happening. He got traded by the Houston Rockets to the Thunder, who then cut him. He did not play in the NBA in 2024. He played in Greece. Then he comes back here in 2025 for the LA Clippers and the Milwaukee Bucks. He has been much better in Milwaukee than LA, but for the 30th overall pick, what he's given in the NBA specifically, I'm giving it a B. It was not the best second round in the world, but there were still some really good picks. I mentioned him before. Nic Claxton went 31st overall. I'm sure the Clippers would have loved to have taken him at 27. The Charlotte Hornets took Cody Martin at 36. The Bulls took Daniel Gafford at 38. Bol went to the Denver Nuggets with the 44th overall pick. The Lakers got Talen Horton-Tucker with pick 46, and the LA Clippers got Terrence Mann with pick 48. So yeah, that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy my 2019 regrade. I'm not sure if this is going to be my last regrade of this cycle. article. Let me know if you want to see a 2018 regrade down below, or drop a thumbs up on this video. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are not already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.